You're standing there looking at the specs sheet, wondering if you're about to drop a good chunk of cash on a pool pump that might end up sitting idle, or worse, driving your electricity bill through the roof. It's a real dilemma: spend a little more now for something that promises savings, or stick with the cheap, noisy unit you've been tolerating for years. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I'm going to walk through exactly what the Pentair Inteliflo VSF 1.5 HP does in a typical backyard setup, where the value actually lies, and who should walk away with this one in the cart and who should keep scrolling. First, let's talk about the problem most pool owners face: the balance between keeping water moving fast enough to stay clean and avoiding a pump that gulps electricity like a vacuum. Traditional single-speed pumps run at full throttle all the time, which means they're constantly pulling the most power possible, even when the pool only needs a gentle circulation. The Inteliflo is built around Pentair's proprietary flow technology, which essentially throttles the motor speed down and regulates the flow to match the pool's real-time needs. In practice, that means the pump can sit at a slower, more efficient speed for most of the day and only kick up when a cleaning cycle or a sudden demand occurs. That slower speed claim isn't just marketing fluff. Pentair lists up to 90% energy savings compared with a comparable single-speed model. For a typical 15,000-gallon residential pool that runs its pump 8 hours a day, the savings can translate into a few $100s off the electric bill each year. I dug into a few homeowner forums and, while I can't quote exact numbers, the consensus is that once the pump is installed and the flow rates are tuned, the meter really does drop noticeably. It's the kind of hidden cost that only shows up when you compare a year-long bill before and after the upgrade. Now, let's bring the app into the picture. The Inteliflo can be controlled through the Pentair Home app, which is available for both iOS and Android. In real life, that means you can dial the pump down to its lowest setting while you're at work, then raise it a notch before you head out for a swim in the evening. The app also shows you real-time flow data and alerts you if something looks off, like a clogged skimmer or a pressure drop. For anyone who likes the idea of tweaking their pool from the couch, that's a tangible convenience. It's not a set-it-and-forget-it device. It gives you a level of oversight that you simply can't get with older mechanical timers. One practical strength that pops up for me is the quietness factor. Because the pump runs slower for most of its cycle, the noise level drops dramatically. If your pool area is tucked right next to a living room window or a patio where you entertain guests, you'll actually notice the difference. It's not a silent operation, but it's a lot less of a roar than a 1.5 HP single-speed motor grinding away at full throttle. That quieter profile can make a pool feel more integrated into the backyard rather than a noisy industrial fixture. On the flip side, the very thing that makes it efficient, its slower, variable speed, can be a drawback for larger or heavily used pools. A 1.5 HP motor with variable speed is plenty for most residential installations up to about 20,000 gallons, but if you have a commercial-size pool or run multiple water features, you may find the flow rate insufficient during peak cleaning cycles. In those cases, you might need to pair the Inteliflo with a larger pump or accept longer filtration times. That's a hidden trade-off. The pump's energy savings come with the assumption that your pool's hydraulic design can work with the lower flow rates. Another practical point is the installation requirement. Pentair's system uses a new motor, drive, and hydraulics that are Department of Energy compliant, which is great for long-term efficiency, but it also means you can't just drop the unit into an older control box without checking compatibility. If your existing pool controller isn't Pentair compatible, you'll either need to upgrade the controller or use an optional touchscreen that Pentair sells separately. For a DIYer who wants a quick swap, that extra step can feel like a hurdle. It's not a deal-breaker, but it does add a little complexity and possibly extra cost. So, who should walk away with this pump? If you have a standard residential pool, say 12,000 to 18,000 gallons, run it most of the time for basic circulation and occasional deep cleans, the Inteliflo is a solid investment. The energy savings, quieter operation, and app control line up nicely with the everyday needs of a family who swims occasionally and wants to keep the electric bill reasonable. It also makes sense if you already own a Pentair control system, because the integration is seamless and you'll get the full suite of monitoring features without an extra.